Good evening and thank you for joining us on this Friday. I'm Rob Caldwell. Samantha York is on assignment. Coming up tonight, as a coach at Bowdoin College for nearly 40 years, Catie Butt touched thousands of lives. His own life at times was like something out of a movie. We're going to look back at his remarkable story. And we are in the kitchen with Chef Byrne. We asked him to come up with a good meal to make after work that doesn't take too long to prepare. He'll share his recipe for American Chop Suey goulash a little later in this half hour. But first, the yellow and blue packaging is unmistakable, and Allagash White has helped make the Allagash Brewery the 21st largest craft beer maker in the U.S. Allagash says it gets 100,000 visitors each year, more than what its Portland tap room can handle. So the company officially expanded this year, opening a tasting room in Scarborough. 207's David Guildford sat down with founder Rob Todd to talk about how Maine brewing has evolved over the last 30 years and what's on the horizon.
Well, yeah, 30 years, it's an amazing milestone. And I mean, we've been so busy this year. Number one, just keeping up with demand. And number two, building out this new off-site tasting space. When we do step back and think about it, it is an amazing milestone. And you know, the accomplishment is the hard work of 130 people, 130 employees today, and employees over the last 30 years that have made it possible.
I could walk into another brewery today and probably see someone out back wearing a shirt from another brewery. A lot of them will bring you up and talk about you as a source of inspiration, a source of help when they needed it, getting their feet under them.
You know, we were tiny when I was getting going. I started alone. After 10 years, I only had 5 employees. So most of the breweries in the state were bigger than we were back then and had more resources than we did. And I remember very clearly David Geary.
Congratulations, David. Very nice looking beer. Thank you.
So he immediately picked up the phone and said, hey, you know, I'm moving on from this labeler. Why don't you come over and take some parts off it, and we'll have a beer together. The craft breweries that introduced all these unique styles, like a Belgian style wheat beer, like Allagash White, they really were the underdog. It was them against the bigger breweries at the time. And I think they kind of had to stick together to survive. And luckily that spirit really has continued to thrive.
How do you forecast the future of this industry in our state?
Well, there's no question it's a tough time right now to be in craft beer, and there are a lot of headwinds hitting at the same time. I mean, the industry really is maturing. When I started in the industry, there were probably only 300 or 350 breweries in the country. Now there are nearly 10,000. So there's no question there's a lot of competition out there, and some of the younger generation isn't drinking as much. The economy is putting pressure on people's wallets. You have the THC beverages coming out. You mentioned the tariffs. So there are absolutely a lot of headwinds, but we continue to be just very, very optimistic. And there are signs of that are really supported by data everywhere. I mean, we're having a great year so far. From a sales perspective, we're up in terms of customer visits at our 50 Industrial Way location. I think we're up about 14% versus last year. So I think the brewers who have always focused on doing things well, you know, high quality, a great customer experience when someone visits the brewery, and just disciplined in all aspects of how they run the business, I think they're going to do just fine. But there's no question there's a lot of pressure right now, and probably will be for some time.
How many attempts did you need before you said this is the one on Allagash?
So as I was building the brewery, this is back in 1994 and early 95, I had a little 10-gallon pilot system, and I probably brewed a dozen batches of this beer. And then once I got my equipment built, I brewed 2 batches. And I felt like batch 3, I could get it at least 95% there.
Sounds like the Wild West when you were first starting out with beat up dairy equipment.
It's completely different at the brewery. If you would have taken a tour back in the 90s and saw the equipment we were making beer on versus now, there's a very, very stark difference. And I get asked all the time by employees, how was it in the old days? It must have been great back then, and that must have been so fun in the early days. And I mean, Jason, our brewmaster, was around back then, and I'm like, no, it was terrible back in the old days. I'm a little nostalgic about the old days, but I don't miss the fact that we outgrew some of what we were stuck with back in those days.
Allagash's tasting room in Scarborough is located in what used to be Scarborough Downs. If you ever miss any of our stories on 207, or if you want to share them, remember you can catch all of our episodes on our News Center Maine Plus app. You can download it for free and stream on your TV. It is available on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Coming up next on this Friday, looking back on a life of adventure and achievement from China to Maine. In his 39 years as a coach at Bowdoin College, Charlie Butt touched the lives of hundreds of students and athletes. Now his legacy is being remembered in a book written by someone who knew him well. It's called Charlie's Way, The Life, Laughter, and Legacy of Coach Charlie Butt. It was written by his daughter, Catie Butt, who's with us here on 207. Thanks for coming in. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Boy, your dad led a colorful life, but we will try to hit on a few of the high points. Let's begin with where he grew up, his formative years in Shanghai, China. He was born in 1925, so he was 12 years old when the Japanese forces invaded Shanghai in 1937. The war went on until 1945. What were those years like for your dad as a young man?
Yeah, so it was from all accounts, it was truly an amazing time. There was a lot of unpredictability around what might be happening because there were bombings, there was disease, there was a lot of like actually in the streets.
It's interesting though, when these things happen to you and you're 12 years old or 13 or 14, you almost kind of assume this is normal, this is the way life is, because you don't know better. In fact, it was anything but a normal life. One of the things in his life that was kind of normal though was sports.
Yes.
He loved sports and he was a really good athlete. When the war ended and the Chinese communists had taken over, in 1948, he was invited to participate on not one, but two Chinese Olympic teams in basketball and boxing. What did he say to those invitations?
Yeah, it was actually basketball and swimming.
Basketball and swimming, I beg your pardon. Yes.
Quite all right. No. He had become very well known as an athlete, just in multiple sports. He held records in swimming. He was a boxer. He was a Golden Gloves champion boxer, and had opportunities to perhaps travel to Australia and the U.S. for boxing. But when he made the Olympic teams in two different sports, there were some conditions associated with that, and the government was asking that he give up his Portuguese passport and also only speak Mandarin in order to represent the country. And as honored as he would have been to compete at the Olympic level, he really had to make the decision to forego the opportunity because he didn't want to give up his Portuguese passport given the uncertainty of the political environment.
Quite extraordinary, turning down two invitations to compete in the Olympics. He then made the decision soon after that he wanted to leave Shanghai and go to the United States. Now, as you write in the book, this is like something out of a movie. He has to swim to a ship, and he's down in this oily, greasy hold where the soldiers are looking for him. Mm-hmm. He could have lost his life while making that escape, right?
That's absolutely right. He did see his opportunity one night, and he paid to have his one suitcase brought on board quietly, and then he hired a man to row him as close as they could get to the ship, and he did have to swim the last 40 or 50 yards to get on the ship. He had to shimmy the anchor chain and then really hide in a propeller shaft.
Yeah, it's a pretty riveting story of how he made it out, but he did make it out. He came to the United States, and he ended up at Bowdoin College, where he coached swimming and soccer, worked there for 39 years, and as we said, touched the lives of countless students. That's a lot of what the book is about. What is his legacy at Bowdoin.
Some of the words that folks shared with me were, his humanity, the culture that he grew in the teams that he coached with soccer, with swimming and diving, and then also as an athlete himself, the fact that he was a very well-known squash player. He was a 23-time national champion and multiple-time world champion squash player. So his athletes and the students who worked with him really had a sense that this was part of the fiber of who he was. The whole notion of commitment and teamwork. He wanted to win, but it was always with fairness, and so that the right folks actually would come out successft.
There's a great line from one of his students who said, "Whoever plays with Charlie wins."
That's it. That's it. And it was, I think that applied both on the court or in the pool or in life. Yeah.
The name of the book, Charlie's Way by Catie Butt. Thank you so much for coming in, Catie. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
And we've got more information on the book. You find it in the 207 section of our app or website. Stick around. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to the 207 Kitchen at Maine Studios. With us today, Chef Bo Byrne from the Southern Maine Community College Culinary Program. He teaches there. He's been a chef at lots of restaurants in Southern Maine. And we said to you, Bo, what's a dish that you might make at home after a long day at work? You get home, you want to make something that comes together quickly, and you came up with what for us?
Yeah, so when I was first thinking about that, one of my favorite comfort foods on that kind of a day would be American Chop Suey. And the way my mom made American Chop Suey was with just, tomato paste and had some sugar added to it, and it had ground beef and onion. I'm gonna make a different, more souped up version for you today, but I will note that if you want to personalize it and switch out the ground beef to sausage or to ground chicken or ground turkey, you can personalize it.
Feel free to improvise.
Yeah, add peppers and onions and things like that.
All right, so where do we begin?
We're starting out here. We've got some onions that are sauteing up here. And just as they start to move, probably after the first 4 or 5 minutes or so, you can add the garlic to the pan. Now it's crucial not to add the garlic initially because the garlic has a tendency to burn.
Okay.
So it only really wants to go in for a quick moment or so before you're paying some serious attention to it. So as I add that, I'm gonna kind of move my onions to the middle of the pan, and then I'm going to place in my ground beef. Now you'll see here that I've got some ground beef that I've already taken the opportunity to put a little bit of some browning on. But
And
note
the reason for that is?
Yeah, well, for right now, mostly just because of our time constraints.
Okay, just to make it faster
Just-
here.
just to make it
But you
faster
also
here.
mentioned that you don't want to have loose beef in there?
Absolutely. So I form them into balls like this because you get a much better sear on the ground beef to do it this way. Yeah, instead of just packing it down and you think to just do it quickly, you would smear it in the pan. But it's much better to actually turn them into little balls and sear them on all sides. And then you can bust them up. So I still break them up, but eventually, this way this allows you to get a really great sear.
Very good.
Yeah. So as that starts to move now and the beef is starting to cook, it'll take you probably about 5 minutes or so to hit to this state.
Yeah, we as usual have compressed things a bit, but we'll of course have the full recipe, and you just watch what Bo's doing and you'll get the idea.
That's it. So we've added our tomatoes here. This is a little bit of tomato paste, diced tomatoes, and some simple tomato sauce, followed by some beef stock. And you can make your own if you like, if you have the time to do that. Otherwise, you can just get it at the grocery store.
Sure.
I do a little bit of some paprika and oregano here in this simple, you could use Italian seasoning if you prefer that as well. But I like to control it with the oregano. And then as this comes together here, really quickly, it's going to come to a simmer, and as it does, we're going to throw the noodles right into the pot. So this is another differentiation from where my mother would make this, and this would be the American Chop Suey. This would be cooking in a separate pot, which also means you have to clean 2 pots. So one of the beauties of this is one of those one-pot wonders.
Easier and faster.
That's it. So you're going to find that the noodles in this manner are going to still take about 10 to 15 minutes, and they don't ever have to come to a boil, but this just has to be at a simmer.
Okay.
Stir it occasionally because it is tomato, and tomato likes to stick. So make sure maybe even possibly rotate the entire pan at one point during the cooking.
Got it.
So while that's cooking, and now you've bought yourself about 10 to 15 minutes,
Right.
and again, until the tenderness of the pasta is achieved, you could work on a simple garlic bread.
Okay.
So I've sliced open this French-style Italian loaf here, and now we're gonna take some softened butter with garlic and parsley and a little bit of some salt, And we're just going to smear this in an even layer across this bread.
Which, for some of us, would be a really good meal all by
Just on its
itself.
own. Yeah, this is enough to feed about 8 people here. So don't think this is just for me and Rob. This is enough for the whole family. And this dish that we're making today, you could serve 4 people tonight, and then have 2 orders for leftovers tomorrow.
And you said start to finish, prep and cooking, you could probably figure 30 minutes.
30 minutes all in to have both of these done. This you throw on a sheet pan, pop in the oven about 425 degrees. Do we have garlic bread?
We do have garlic bread. It would look like this when
It would
comes out.
look like this when it pops out, right? So from here to here, you're just looking for this beautiful golden brown on the edges. Again, it takes somewhere around 10 to 12 minutes, around 400 degree.
Right.
And if you want to really cheese it up, you could absolutely do that beforehand or afterhand. A little bit of some of this light
Very nice.
farm mozzarella, something like that.
All right, back to our goulash.
Back to the goulash. I think we're ready to plate up. We have a version ready to go. Let's say that our 15 minutes has gone by and we're ready to serve. I'll take one of those bowls right here and we're going to serve right out of this. You want to lift that pot right off the top? Beautiful. And this is where we're heading here. So
Oh, that looks really nice.
pasta, tender, steaming, ground beef fully cooked.
And as you said, great for leftovers.
Great for leftovers, absolutely.
So 30 minutes of work, 2 meals for 4 people. Pretty tough to beat that.
Absolutely. Now you could just kind of come at this with a little bit of some of your cheese, little parsley, little Parmesan, something like that. Serve that with some garlic bread. Less than a half hour.
There you go. The recipe is on our website. Head to the 207 section of our Newsletter Maine website or app, and you'll find Bo Byrne's recipe for the goulash, inspired by his mom's American Chop Suey.
That's it.
Great to have you. Thank you so much, Bo.
Thanks for having me.
Stick around. Back with more of 207 right after this. Coming up Monday on 207, in a time when most of us are constantly sending photos and text messages, do you ever send a postcard anymore? For most of a century, postcards were sent all the time. In Maine, a lot of them came from a small company in Belfast that sent people out to the small towns of New England to take pictures. Those are now valuable documents of 20th century history and a reminder of just how popular a 2-cent postcard used to be. We'll have that story coming up Monday on 207 as Don Kerrigan tells us about the one company that chronicled the world of rural Maine and New England. And thanks for being with us this week. Before we go tonight, we've got music from Old Hat String Band. The name of the song, Big Bray. Have a good weekend. We'll see you back here Monday.